Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of the DAN Show, and welcome to my breakdown of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, look, first off, this is Friday, not Thursday. My mistake, circumstances outside my control didn't allow me to release this video on time, so my apologies to you. But hey, the video is coming out today, and we're going to go ahead and break down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, if you're new to my channel, I just got one simple question to ask you. Do you want to talk football? Do you want to be part of the community where that's all we do is talk football? Because if so, you're in the right place. There's this button right around here. See it? See it? See it? Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. Now, here's how my Tampa Bay breakdown is going to go. I'm going to talk about what I like about Tampa Bay. Then I'm going to talk about what I don't like, but stick around to the very end where I break down the Vegas over-under and if I am putting action down on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's start with what I like about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, let's start with the obvious here. The number one thing I like is bringing in two Hall of Famers in Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. And this says quite a bit, really, on Jameis Winston and O.J. Howard. I mean, if you were to say, build me a NFL quarterback, physically speaking, it would be Jameis Winston. He had that when he played college baseball, he had 96 mile an hour fastball. The guy was like 6'5", 230, 240, something like that. Big kid, athletic. And then that's another thing. Bruce Arians, he's always liked big, strong-armed quarterbacks. So it seemed like a match made in heaven. But I remember watching Hard Knocks, and I've seen every single Hard Knocks. And the one thing that really stood out about Jameis Winston is how immature he came across and childish, and it really stood out. And keep in mind, you're Jameis Winston. You got to work with Dirk Cutter and Bruce Arians, two of the best offensive minds in football. And now you get a chance to work with Sean Payton in New Orleans, so hopefully he'll be able to resurrect his career. But you also got O.J. Howard, who was drafted a couple years ago. I thought O.J. Howard was the best tight end prospect I ever seen. Here's a guy who was an excellent run blocker, but he ran a 4.51 at the combine. He was like 6'5", 250, 255, something like that. And then remember the national championship game where he was MVP, he had like 220 receiving yards on 5 catches. He had 2 long touchdowns. He had 1 long touchdown. He's just running away from defensive backs. I think it was Clemson defensive backs in the national championship game. I mean, to me, he looked like the Randy Moss of tight ends. I thought that this guy might be a generational type talent. He's not getting it done. So adding Gronkowski ideally helps O.J. Howard. Winston, of course, had to move on, but bottom line, the easiest thing I like about Tampa Bay is adding 2 Hall of Famers to this football team. And they replace guys that are physically, athletically gifted, but just didn't get the job done. And hopefully O.J. Howard can turn things around, and hopefully Winston will turn things around in New Orleans. But that's got to be the number one thing you got to like about Tampa Bay. The second thing I like is Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator that Bruce Arians is able to bring with him. Now, these two work together in Arizona. Todd Bowles, excellent defensive coordinator, earned a head coaching job with the Jets. I thought got a bad deal in New York. He was trying to rebuild that defense, and then they draft a Sam Darnold, tell him, hey, look, now you're playing with a young defense. You got to play with a rookie quarterback and make the playoffs. It wasn't a good deal for Todd Bowles. He will get another job. I don't know because I've never spoken to Todd Bowles. If he wants to go into college ranks, I think that he would do an excellent job. Personally, I think he will be an NFL head coach. Maybe as soon as 2021. This defense is loaded with youth, and this defense gave up a lot of points last year, but they were the number 1 rushing defense, which is really important. You got Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara. Now you got Todd Gurley. So having a defense that's very stout against the run, you got to fix that points. But I think overall, I think the defense is something that's going to be improved. And when you're number 1 against the run, that's a big deal anyway. So this Todd Bowles plus a lot of youth on this defense, that's a good thing. Third thing I like about Tampa Bay is this wide receiver duo. Look at the stats here. Godwin had 14 starts. Mike Evans had 13 starts per Pro Football Reference. Both guys went over 1,000 yards. Is this the best duo in football? I think it is, and if you watch my 2019 Tampa Bay breakdown, I said I wouldn't surprise me if Mike Evans in the next couple of years is the best wide receiver in football, and it wouldn't surprise me if in the next couple of years Mike Evans is considered the best wide receiver in football. And by the way, no disrespect to Mike Thomas from the Saints, but I think that highly of Mike Evans. I'm not taking anything away from Mike Thomas is currently the best receiver in football, but every year that kind of switches up. It wouldn't surprise me if sometime in the next couple of years we're saying, hey, Mike Evans is the best receiver in football. Even though Chris Godwin has better numbers this year, I think that you're looking at 1 and 2 with Evans being the number 1 guy. Is this the best duo in football? I think it is. If you want to debate that, let me know. Drop a comment below. Let's have a discussion. But the one thing that you gotta love about Tampa Bay is these 2 wide receivers. The fourth and final thing that I like about Tampa Bay is the way they finished the season. They started off 2-6. Then they won 5 out of their last 6, and then they lost the last 2 games, and they were 2 home losses. They lost to Houston 23-20. Now, Houston needed that win because they were trying to win the division, trying to get that home playoff game, which they got. Then they lost to Atlanta the last game of the season. The famous Winston last throw, of course, was a pick 6. And that was one of Winston's 174 interceptions. No, I'm joking. It wasn't that many. It was probably like 120. But even with those 2 losses, they finished 5-3. There was improvement throughout the season, and that's something I like really going into 2020 is that this team ended on a good note. You could see the team getting better as the year went on, and those 2 losses, those aren't bad losses, especially since you moved on from Winston. So just to recap all the things that I like about Tampa Bay, number 1, the Hall of Fame duo coming in. It's got to mean something, obviously. Second thing is Todd Bowles plus, maybe I could do this as 2 and 3, but I'm going to put them together. Todd Bowles plus youth on defense. This defense will be better in 2021. Number 3, the wide receiver duo, maybe the best wide receiver duo in football, at least I think it is. And fourth and finally, the way they finished 2019. So now let's talk about what I don't like about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. First thing I don't like is when Brady was leaving New England, I thought of all the teams that he would be a good fit for. I didn't think Tampa was a good fit. And the reason why is you look at Bruce Arians, look at his career. He was with Pittsburgh and Ben Roethlisberger, and what they do, they attacked downfield. And then he goes to Indianapolis with Andrew Luck, and they go downfield. Then he takes the job with Arizona, and he has Carson Palmer, and what do? They attack downfield. And then last year with Jameis Winston, now, of course, they did get rid of Winston, but what do? They attack downfield. Now, what does Carson Palmer, Andrew Luck, and Ben Roethlisberger have in common? They're all built like tight ends with big, powerful arms, which is how Jameis Winston was built. So I thought the Winston Arians would really fit, but it obviously didn't. Brady's not that attack the ball downfield type of quarterback. He's more of a surgeon out there. I think that his best offense is when he has, 3-4 wide receivers and he's just dinking and dunking the ball all over the place. And that's what he does best. This downfield offense is kind of like putting a square peg in a round hole. Now, keep in mind, Arians is a smart enough coach, and he's been in football long enough. He's not going to, try to have Brady do things that he doesn't want to do. Keep in mind, you sign a quarterback like Tom Brady, he has the ability to go ahead and change plays, and there's not really much you can do about it. But, these two got to be on the same page, and I think they will get on the same page. But Arians has always been somebody who wants to attack downfield, and at this point in his career, That's not Brady's strength, which brings up the second thing is that both Brady and Gronkowski are past their prime. I did a video, 2 days ago about Phillip Rivers. I watched both Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady play last year. I thought Brady slowed down more than Rivers, but Brady to me really looked like he really slowed down. He wasn't the same guy in New England. And a lot of that was the offensive line issues. Maybe Brady was hurt and didn't say anything. I don't know. But when I looked at Tom Brady last year, he played against my Chiefs. They put up 16 points against my Chiefs. Now, the second half of the season, defense got better, of course, but nobody's going to confuse the 2019 Chiefs with the 85 Bears. Bottom line, he just didn't really play that great. Now, keep in mind, the offensive line, skilled position players aren't as good, but I cannot emphasize enough, you are getting 2 Hall of Fame players. That's a plus. You're not getting Hall of Fame players in their prime. Gronkowski was retired. Brady has a year or 2 left, but you're not getting Hall of Fame players in their prime. You're getting guys really past their prime, so you need other players to really kind of pick up the slack. I think these guys are going to be big for what they bring into the locker room, but if you're expecting Hall of Fame play out of the quarterback and tight end position, you're not going to get it. So just keep that in mind. That's a big thing I don't like, is that a lot of Buccaneers fans and a lot of what I'm seeing on social media, you think you're getting the greatest quarterback and the greatest tight end of all time. You're not getting that. All right. You're probably be very disappointed in the play that you're getting if that's your expectations. Third thing I don't like is that I'm going to talk out both sides of my mouth here. I love Todd Bowles. I think he's going to do a good job with the defense, but they have some young corners. Now, I think Bowles will help improve those corners, but you have to realize in Arizona, they had Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson's going to be a Hall of Famer. You were 30th in passing yards, and you got young corners, but you couldn't add somebody. There's not a free agent corner you could have picked up. Personally, I know Arizona's been public in saying that they're never going to trade Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson in Tampa Bay would be a great fit. Reunite with his old coach and his old defensive coordinator, because if any team needed some corner help in the offseason, it was Tampa Bay, and they didn't get it. Yes, they got young players. Yes, they will play better, but you got 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in that division, and Bridgewater, and you want to debate this, you can, but Bridgewater, I firmly believe, is a better passer, just pure passer, than Cam Newton. So you didn't add any corners in free agency. That really worries me. Now, keep in mind, I do expect the corners to play better because they're young guys, but you're in a division with Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan. You couldn't add anybody in free agency. That to me was a huge mistake. So I'm not going to bring up the offensive line situation because I think everything's going to work out. If you haven't heard the story, it's starting left tackle threatened to sit out due to this COVID-19. They did draft Tristan Wirfs, which I like. I think he's a fine player. But I think that Donovan Smith will start. He'll be on the left side. Tristan Wirfs will be a start on the right side. I'm not going to bring that up, but it's sort of a side note. But just to recap the 3 things I don't like, I'm not sure about the Brady fit in Arians offense. It seems like it's a square peg in a round hole. Second thing is both Brady and Gronkowski are past their prime. Gronkowski was retired, and I watched Brady last year. He looked like he went significantly downhill fast. I mean, the dude's 42. By NFL standards, he shouldn't be around anymore. He's still better than a lot of quarterbacks out there, but you're not getting a Hall of Fame caliber player in the quarterback or tight end position, no matter what you think. And the third and final thing I don't like is you had a terrible passing defense. You're going against 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, arguably 2 Hall of Fame wide receivers in Atlanta and New Orleans, and you couldn't upgrade the corner position in free agency. So So now let's talk about the Vegas over-under. I told you wait around to the end. I was going to bring up the Vegas over-under. The Vegas over-under is 9.5. If you want to go over, it's negative 130, which means that you have to wager $130 to win 100. The under is plus 110, so you can wager $100 to win 110 if you like the under. And so I'm going to break this down in a little more detail, and I've done some of the others. When I look at Tampa Bay, let's say 9.5, so you got to get to 10. This is a tough division, all right? You got the Saints, which I think are talented. Carolina, I think, is kind of rebuilding. I'm doing Atlanta here in just a few days, but I think they're a tough team as well. But your schedule is you're playing the AFC West and the NFC North. Kansas City is the only playoff team. They were Super Bowl winners, but in the NFC North, you have 2 playoff teams. Let's say you go 4-2 in your division, which is generous, all right? But let's just say you go 4-2. When I look at the home games, you have Chargers, Packers, Rams, Chiefs, and Vikings. Now, the key here is the Vikings because you get a bye before you have a home game against Minnesota. So that's a good thing. Minnesota does not have a bye. So you do get kind of an advantage there. But when I look at this home schedule of Chargers, Packers, Rams, Chiefs, and Minnesota, I see 2 wins. Now, if you want to say 3 because you're going to count Minnesota as a win, fine. But I'm looking at 2. All right, so that's 4 plus 2. The road games, you get Denver, Chicago, Vegas, Giants, and Detroit. Let's just say you win Detroit and the Giants. That gives you the 8. All right? This means that here's the key. In order to get to 10, you have to have 2 out of 3 wins against Denver, Chicago, and Vegas. Those are the 3 key games. Denver, Chicago, and Vegas. If you get 2 out of 3, then you get to 10. Now, if you want to tell me you're going to win Minnesota, this means you only need 1 win out of Denver, Chicago, and Vegas. That's 2 is difficult. One's doable. And keep in mind, I'm going 4-2 in the division. When I looked at Tampa Bay, I saw 9 exactly. This is to me a 9-7 team. They have some good things going on defense. The offense, I am really curious about how well will Arians and Brady mesh. It would be very interesting. But I think this is a 9-win team, so I'm taking under. Am I going to bet on this? I'm not really sure. I would love to see it jump up to 10, and if it does jump up to 10, I'm definitely taking under. Am I wagering on what I think is a half-game disparity? Probably not. Again, a lot of it has to do with that Minnesota game. I think Minnesota's a better team. So even though you get a bye, and keep in mind, you play Kansas City at home, then you get your bye, then you play Minnesota at home. So you get to stay in the Tampa area. Minnesota doesn't have a bye, so that's really huge. I still think Minnesota's a better team. So, and keep in mind, 4 wins in the division, I think, is very generous. You could easily be 3-3 in this division, and if you're 3-3, then there's really no way that you're going to get an additional 7 out of 10 wins. So, my recommendation is to take the under. Am I doing it? I'm not. But if it jumps up to 10, then I will take the under, and I will keep you informed. So, hey, listen, I'm sorry it's a day late, but I'm glad you liked the video. Have a fantastic weekend. I will get out Denver. I haven't decided if I'm going to release Denver today or tomorrow, but either way, have a great weekend. Denver's coming up, and I will have the Falcons Monday. So, hey, I'll see you soon.